Hello, everyone. Welcome back to On Tap Bets. I'm Cody. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody on Tap. And I'm joined, as always, with my good buddy, Joey Ricotta. You can follow him on Twitter at The Riot 326. Obviously, we were here yesterday, and we're back because there's so many bowl games tomorrow and Saturday. It's the best time of the year, which is weird because it's the end of the year. But if you're a college football fan, it's the best time of the year. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna do the NFL slate at the end of the show. So it's kind of a lengthy one. So we're actually, for the podcast, we're going to put up two shows. Again, one will be all college football and the other will be NFL. But if you're tuning in on the live stream, whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, our YouTube channel, we're going to put it's all here in one stream. So stick around if you're here for the college football slate. Definitely stick around. And like I said, we'll do the NFL towards the end of the show. Joey, how are you doing, man? How are you feeling about today's bets that we just talked about yesterday?
I don't know. I'm a little bit mixed on the bets that we talked about yesterday, but wasn't expecting you to ask that right off the bat. But yes,
gotta keep you on your toes, man.
Your Duke's Mayo Bowl that came through, so
it did barely.
So
I was afraid. I was honestly afraid South Carolina was going to, just run the ball out and like knee it on inside the 10, or something like that. But they ended up getting UNC ended up getting a stop. Their defense actually got a stop and led South Carolina to just kick a field goal, and they didn't miss it. So shout out to the Gamecocks. Shout out to all the people in my mentions today telling me to eat some mayo. People never forget, as they all say. So, yeah, man. You were right about Oklahoma. I bet Oregon last night. That was dumb. Not great. But got back in the win column this morning. I'm about to hit the L column again. I think we're both about to hit the L column here with Tennessee. Unless you got them at -6 like we talked about. I didn't bet it until a little bit before kickoff, and it was at -7.5. And
I wish I had checked that before we hopped down here because now I don't even remember where I bet them at, but I'm hoping it is under 7 too.
If you have it at under 7, it's still alive. Yeah, this is a wild game. But yeah, we got that game. Michigan State and Pittsburgh are just begun. I took Michigan State -3.5. I think you took the under, right?
Yeah, I was on the under. Yeah, I kind of leaned the Michigan State side, but something just kind of kept me away. I don't know what it was, but I just had like a weird feeling about it. So I'm like, let me just take the under because I feel like, we talked about it already. But yeah, I'm on the under.
Yeah, and then we got Wisconsin, Arizona State tonight. I'm pretty sure we're both on Wisconsin. This lines move up to 7.5 in some books. So yesterday when we talked about it, I think it was at like 6. So a lot of people are on what we feel, even at 7. I don't know about 7.5, but even at 7, I feel like I would probably take Wisconsin still. But
yeah,
anyway,
good closing line value at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be real hard to not bet Wisconsin in this matchup for me. And the Pac-12 has you just can't. It's hard to bet on any school from the Pac-12. It really is. And I learned that last night with freaking Oregon. Never mind.
Yeah, I know, man. The Pac-12 is brutal sometimes, especially around bowl time when you got all these, coaches changing spots, and it just feels like the Pac-12 is like right in the mix with all that shit. I don't know why, but it feels that way.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's get into tomorrow's games, though. There's kickoff starting at 11 a.m. It's like your regular college football, like Saturday, but except it's Friday. Games starting at 11, ends at freaking. It'll be like 9-10 o'clock by the time the last game ends. But there's only 4 games. And me and you both don't really have a play on the first two. The first two being Rutgers and Wake Forest, and then Washington State and Central Michigan. So I feel like just quickly we can go through them and say, like, if we were to play the game, like what we would lean. So Where do you want to start us off with Wake Forest and Rutgers, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, we got the Gator Bowl, the good old. I don't know what did they tried to change it to like the tax slayer, taxpayer. I don't even know what they're calling it now, but
God,
Gator Bowl. All these different bowl names. I don't understand. You got the advertisements they got to read off and put them in the title now. But anyways, with that said, Rutgers obviously replacing Texas A&M, so they're kind of a last minute throw in here, and I mean. Right. Our boy Beaton was hoping for NIU to be that replacement team.
There was talks of Illinois being in this team as well. Illinois could have been playing in this game.
God, but, how awful, how brutal would that be? Sorry, Cody, I'm just saying.
I mean, I agree. On the last show, I said Illinois' football program is terrible, man. I know this. I know we're a basketball school.
We're going to talk about that later, though, because there's something that I want to bring up when we're talking about one of these other games.
Okay.
Because and you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about when we start talking about the game, but because they actually looked like a football school at one point this year. But yeah, man, this game, I don't know. Like Sam Hartman's gonna play. Jakari Roberson opted out for the draft.
There's no one out. Like no one opted out due to like the draft or anything like that. There's no injuries for Rutgers coming in. There's a few guys out for Wake Forest, but they've been out like all season except for Roberson. You said Roberson's he's out, right?
Yeah, he opted out. I think he's like the only real big name, but like Greg Schiano's, he's being kind of secretive about his opt-outs. Like, I don't know if anyone is at all. It doesn't sound like it, but he won't tell anybody, it sounds like.
Okay.
So he's being weird about it, but I don't know if it matters. I'm on Wake Forest here just because I mean, Rutgers is 129th in pass defense explosiveness allowed. So Hartman, even without Roberson, I think he's going to have a field day. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Like he's one of the top QBs in the country. You think just because missing one wide receiver doesn't mean he's not going to go off, especially if he's a prospect like he is. And I'm kind of with you on that. See, the spread's moved up to 16.5. And
it's wild.
That's just a lot of points. And like Wake Forest kind of struggled towards the end of the year. Like they really didn't play that well against Pittsburgh in the ACC championship game. They lost by they lost by more than 20 points. They lost to UNC. We just watched UNC today, man. They're not good. They were bad. I actually kind of feel bad for Sam Howell. And the only reason that I kind of want to bet Rutgers is because Rutgers played well in the non-conference. Like it was when the Big Ten season started for them where they really fell apart. But they finished 6-6. They were, 4-2 or something like that at one point. They had some nice wins. They only lost by a touchdown to Michigan earlier in the season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of a chip on Rutgers here. Greg Schiano is a decent coach, in my opinion. I think like he's turning the program around compared to like what we know Rutgers as. I mean, I still think they're a fake Big Ten school, and I think that they should be in the Big Ten. And like, I still think that Illinois is better than them at virtually every little thing. But in this game, like, I don't know. It's hard for me to trust Wake Forest to win by more than 17. I could see them winning by double digits, but I don't know if I could take Wake Forest to win by more than, like 20 points or more, I kind of like Rutgers here to cover.
I'm with you too on the Greg Schiano thing. I think he's done a great job with the team, with the program, and I've always thought he's a decent coach. Like he has these guys playing hard. I think he covered against Ohio State last year too, in a game that everyone was like they're going to get slaughtered in, and like it was kind of might have been
slaughtered this year. They got slaughtered this year by Ohio State, but I mean, again, like I said, like they weren't a bad team in the non-conference. It was just if you look at like their last 10 games, I mean, they got murdered by Maryland, they got murdered by Penn State, they beat Indiana, like they destroyed Indiana, and they destroyed. They didn't destroy. They beat Illinois, which whatever. Don't get me. Again, Illinois basketball school. They got murdered. They got murdered by Wisconsin. Like, there's a lot of blowout losses there in the Big Ten. But again, this is non-conference game. Like, this is the ACC. Wake Forest has, they they can put up a ton of points. Like they'll put up a ton of points, but like I don't know. Like I feel like Rutgers can just hang around or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even really have that strong of a lean towards Wake Forest either. Like we talked about coming on to hear it. If it's under 17, I'll probably I'm considering betting Wake Forest, but you're kind of talking me out of it too at the same time. So I don't really love it, to be honest. It's a big number.
Yeah. So we'll just leave it at that and move on to the next one. Washington State at Central Michigan. We are I have nothing here. I just think about betting the over personally. Maction, Central Michigan's been put up a ton of points. If anything, maybe take Central Michigan because they're an underdog and their offense is really, really good. And Washington State, I know they actually played pretty well after their coach left or was fired, but just based off, the little bit that I know, I'm either taking the over or I'm taking Central Michigan to cover.
That's kind of where I am too. I mean, the MAC team in a bowl game, it just kind of feels like an over. I know it might be a lot of points to some people, but 57.5 and the dog sounds like a good idea too. I'll probably ride with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we got that. Let's get to what everyone really gives two shits about, man, and that's the college football playoff. Cincinnati and Alabama. Tell me you want to bet the Bearcats. Tell me you want to ride the American Athletic Conference. Tell me like Nick Saban finally loses one to these small schools. Tell me that it's going to happen, Joey. Tell me it's going to happen. You're muted, man. You're muted.
Oh, great start. This is the game. This is one of the games, obviously, like you said, everyone wants to talk about. They didn't come here for Central Michigan versus Washington State takes, but I'm sure somebody's betting on it anyways. But
yeah.
I just feel like I would love to do that. I would love to take the Bearcats in this spot. I just can't, like the Cinderella story here with Luke Fickell and Desmond Ridder and the Bearcats are undefeated. All that is great. I think their defense is really good. I think they have maybe the best secondary in the country with, you got Kobe Bryant, you got Sauce Gardner in the secondary. Like these guys are the two of the best, if not the best. And I don't know. I mean, Bama could be in trouble here because their offensive line sometimes can be a little bit leaky. Like they've been giving up some tackles for loss and some sacks all season, and they haven't really been that solid all year. Like they've let teams hang around. But with that said, they've also played a much more difficult schedule than Cincinnati. So the games that are shocking to me, that look shocking, I guess, that like how did you keep that team involved in that game when you're supposed to be this front runner for a national title? They're playing tough competition with Bama. So, and then they just stomped on Georgia, they've had the best defense all season. They've been historically good defensively. So I don't know. I think Cincinnati, like their run defense too, they can cause problems, but this is going to be tough. Like I lean Bama because it's Saban. Like I just feel like bowl game, big stuff on the line. You're going to be going into the national title game if you win this. You just stomped on Georgia. I want to take Bama, and if I'm being smart, I want to take Cincinnati, but if I'm being smart, I can't give advice that way. To me personally, like I don't know, and you can make the case obviously for Cincinnati, but I also feel like the defenses are good enough to keep this game under the total because we're at. What is it at right now? 57.5. As long as it's above 56 if it's at like 56.5 or up, I'll take the under too because I think this is going to be a grind them out type of game. Not a whole lot of, even though we've got two great quarterbacks on each side, I think the defenses are really going to come to play here. What do you think, Cody?
Oh, okay. So before I say what I want to say, Tennessee just missed what would have been a game-winning field goal as time expired in the fourth quarter. So Rip in peace to Vols fans in attendance.
Oh my God, your buddy is probably.
My buddy's probably dead right now. He's probably dead inside. He's feeling like I did when Cody Parkey missed the kick. Anyway, you're looking at it in terms of Cincinnati and Alabama. You're looking at it the right way in terms of like not betting with your heart, because with my heart, I want to bet Cincinnati because I want to see Alabama lose. I mean, to me, even though Alabama beat Georgia, it's like, I don't know. Like, you know how the committee always will have the bias for the SEC, and rightfully so. It's far and away the best conference in college football. I mean, maybe the Big Ten is right there, right behind them, especially this year, I feel like. And then, like really after those two conferences, you're just kind of like, it's the Big Ten, the SEC, and the rest. And maybe that's some bias from us because we're Big Ten guys. But anyway, especially with Clemson not really living up to the normal hype that they've had the last couple of years, like you knew that there's probably going to be two SEC schools in the college football playoff. But at 13 and a half points, like right now, I'll probably take Bama as well. Like if I don't bet with my heart. Now, if that moves to, I would say if it moves to like 15 or more, I might consider dabbling on Cincinnati because because kind of like what you said, like it's gonna be a grinded out. Both teams gonna be running the ball. Cincinnati's defense is, that's pretty good. And I feel like this Alabama team isn't like every other Alabama team that we've seen, which is pretty wild considering they're in the college football playoff. Like, I mean, they lost to Texas A&M earlier this year, who also has a really good defense. They had their game of the year against Georgia, no doubt. Like, they knew they had to win that game, and they came out and they absolutely slaughtered them in a sense. But, that it's now been a month. And now expectations are back to what they are. But I feel like Cincinnati, when you're playing with house money, man, like some special shit could happen. But again, if it doesn't move past 14, I'll take Alabama to cover 2 touchdowns. But if it goes over 14, like over 14 and a half, like I would lean Cincinnati. I think they can at least keep it within 2 touchdowns. And maybe it's because they're not playing Notre Dame. I know you're a Notre Dame guy, but like they're not playing Notre Dame in this game. Like we haven't seen Cincinnati in this situation. Their entire school. This is like the biggest moment in their school's history, honestly, in terms of athletics. Like I feel like that means something. I don't think they're going to come out and get their butts whooped like we've seen from other schools outside of the Big Ten or the SEC. I feel like they're at least going to hang around. I don't think they're going to win, but I think they can at least hang around if it goes. And again, I only take it if it's more than if it goes over 14. That 13 and a half, I don't want to see them lose by 14 points and have a bad beat. Like if it goes to 15 or more, I'll take Cincinnati. But at 13 and a half, I'd take Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, even if you get that little hook in there, that 14 and a half, I'd probably – that's the thing. Yeah, if it's under 14 with Bama, I mean, it's just a tough game to bet on, really. Like,
yeah,
it's a really hard. You know how Vegas just sets these lines for, especially these big games. Like they are dialed in with these lines, and
these lines have been out forever. So Cincinnati knows that they are double-digit underdogs going into this game, and like again, now I'm like using narrative as to go with my heart on why I would bet Cincinnati, but like. I don't know, man. Like, we always beg for just a little bit of parity in college football when it comes to the playoff. And, like, we're seeing it with Michigan this year. And maybe Cincinnati can do it too. Like, I don't think they can win, but I do think that they can cover. I feel like Bearcat fans will just be happy if they cover. You know what I mean? Like, they'll be talking about it for years. Oh, yeah, well, at least we covered that day, I
mean, I would love nothing more. I cannot stand Bama. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know who's watching, listening, whatever. You're a Bama fan. There's probably millions out there that just like troll social media people all day and just come for everybody's head because we're the best and we've been the best forever. Great. That's wonderful. We know that. It's like the NBA sometimes, though. Like you said, like we're all rooting for a little bit of parity at some point. Like we don't want to see the same team, the expected team to get there every year. The NBA is kind of was like that for a while with LeBron's teams or Steph Curry's teams or, it's just like you could pretty much bank on them going to the NBA finals. I feel like that with Alabama. Like I get so sick of it. So I would love nothing more. And maybe I just talked myself into a little like sprinkle, just a little sprinkle on the money line, just in case.
Just if we see like Jesus rise and just like take control of the entire Cincinnati Bearcats football team, you know what I mean?
They're gonna part the Red Sea, and the Bearcats are gonna win a ball game over Nick Saban and Bama. Yeah, I don't know, man. What's the money line? The money line's got to be crazy for this. So
the money line is plus 400.
Yeah, I mean, what's like half a unit? Like put a full unit on the spread for Bama in case it's like miserable, and then put a half unit on the money line. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Or like if you want to get if you want to have something to root for on both sides, like do a little bit of a teaser or something, or a same game parlay or something. I don't know. But I mean, as far as like single bets, again, if it goes over 14, I'm taking Cincinnati. I think this Alabama team is great, but I don't think it's as great as we've seen in the past. Bryce Young's great, blah blah blah. We all know, but I'll take Cincinnati if that spread goes over 15. We'll see tomorrow. We got a whole day, basically, to watch it move. They don't play till 3:30 or 2:30 our time, 3:30 on the East Coast. But anyway,
Cody, one more point too to maybe potentially give some hope here, more hope for Cincinnati. John Mechie's out. He's not going to play. He tore his ACL, the wide receiver for Bama. So, I mean, he tore it against Georgia. So, I mean, I don't know. That's a big loss. Like, who else is going to step up and really – not that they don't have any other weapons, but that's a pretty big loss.
That is a big loss, yeah. And the Bearcats are coming in pretty healthy. The only person on their injury report is their kicker right now. I mean,
that might come to haunt them like the Vols. Who knows? But
yeah, who knows? Well, at the same time, though, like maybe that means Cincinnati's going to be going for it a lot more in a game, in which I can get up for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, man. Well,
that could potentially destroy my under bet, but hey, whatever.
Yeah. That total is weird because I don't know. Like if I bet the under, it's only because I'm strictly riding with you. But at this point, for me personally, I don't really have anything on it. So if I bet in this total, I'll ride with you tomorrow.
Hey, you're not obligated to do that if it doesn't make sense. And for anybody listening, do not do that if it doesn't make sense. But I do think, like we were talking about, I mean, Cincinnati, 3.3 yards per carry allowed on the ground. So, but like we said, they haven't faced anybody outside of Notre Dame, and you can say what you want about Notre Dame. So, I don't know. Just I'm trying to give some sort of hope, and who wants to not root for points too? Like that's also another hard part. I just feel like it's like a big game type of principle to me. Like see the big game, everybody's betting the over, and I might wait on it and be like, 60 points. All right, take the
under. Yeah. We'll see. Like, because like that, where we see it right now, like it's either going to go up or down from here. Like I don't see it staying right where it's at. So
right.
All right, let's move to the next college football playoff game tomorrow. It's the primetime game, Georgia and Michigan. And like I said with Cincinnati, Joey, tell me you're riding with the Big Ten. Tell me that Aiden Hutchinson is going to destroy Georgia's offense. Tell me that we're going to have a Big Ten team in the national championship game, because that's just what I want to hear.
I'm Dude, I want to see it. I need to see it. Another Big Ten team outside of Ohio State. That's the thing too. I'm sick and tired of Ohio State always getting there, always being like Bama, basically. We got new representation. I do think Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, these guys can get to Stetson Bennett here and make some plays, some impact plays. Both those dudes are going to be high commodities in the NFL draft, and they're real playmakers. And 7.5 points for teams that I actually think are pretty evenly matched. It's strength on strength in a lot of categories, a lot of, key factors that you look at. And I mean, this line opened at 7.5 and it hasn't moved. And it looks like there's money on Michigan. So that kind of worries me a little bit. Why has it not moved? I start getting, I don't know, I start wondering what's really going on here with this line? It's is it fishy or, but the fact that, I don't know, Georgia was being compared to, historical defenses like we were talking about earlier. They've had a great defense all year. I mean, until Nick Saban and Bama really made them look silly in the SEC championship game. But I mean, Harbaugh's completely shifted this narrative at Michigan. Finally slayed the Buckeye Dragon, beat them. It's his first. He hasn't won a bowl game.
They slayed the shit out of Iowa too. I'm sorry to let you know this.
No, they absolutely did. I was trying to slide that one by, but no, they definitely.
Well, I bring it up because going into the game against Iowa, people were like, "Oh, this could be a big letdown after that huge win over Ohio State," and they went into that Big Ten championship game and slaughtered them from start to finish. It was never a doubt. Literally, never a doubt.
Never a doubt. I was not on the Iowa side for that game, and I was rooting for them,
right?
But I was not betting on Iowa that game. So, but I definitely, I know people like the letdown spots and stuff. Sometimes it makes sense, and I might be talking about that with an NFL game that we're going to get to in a little bit. But for the second part of this show, that'll be split out in podcast form, whatever. Anyways, with the Wolverines, though, I mean, he took over. He hasn't had a bowl game win since his first year when he took over. And he took over in 2015 for Harbaugh. So the COVID-19 year, 2-4 last year. I mean, that's a COVID year, though. It's kind of weird. Other than that,
there was a lot of bad going on with Michigan last year. So that's why it's so remarkable to see what they've done this year. And like I said earlier, they only beat Rutgers by a touchdown, but they really came on and. I thought it was just another hype up Michigan year when they lost to Michigan State, but to really, dominate Indiana, they had a nice close win over Penn State. They dominated Maryland. They not only did they beat Ohio State, but they dominated Ohio State. I mean, I have so many live bets on that game. Betting on Ohio State because I thought Michigan was going to Michigan the game. That I ended up losing too much money that day. But I was so mind blown by how that game went that I could do nothing but just respect it and actually just in some way be happy about it because I was just happy that Ohio State lost. And then to dominate Iowa the way they did, they're going into this game this was more than just them trying to beat Ohio State this year. They are playing their best football at the best time. They got Heisman Trophy winner or Heisman Trophy runner-up guy on defense. I think McNamara is, good enough. Their run game is really what dominated Ohio State. And I don't know, man. If it's more than a touchdown, I got to take Michigan for me.
Yeah. Oh,
It's at 7.5. It stays at 7.5. I'm taking Michigan.
I'm taking Michigan, and like I was saying, I might sprinkle the Cincinnati money line a half play. I am doing the Michigan money line because I want to see it, and I don't care. And I'm putting more on the spread, but I am absolutely taking the money line here. I mean, both these teams, they want to do the same thing. They want to ground and pound you to death. You got Hassan Haskins who. He's been great out of the backfield. I mean, Georgia runs the ball. they're both 17th and 28th respectively in rushing play percentage. So they don't want to throw the ball really at all. And Stetson Bennett, you get pressure on that dude, he could turn into a pumpkin real fast. I mean, Cade McNamara is at least like serviceable. Stetson Bennett, not saying he's not serviceable, but
he got down in that game against Alabama, and I mean, we saw what happened, man. He's not someone that you're going to be able to use to bring back. So if Michigan gets ahead early, I mean, they're already underdogs, so like you're sitting pretty if you're a better, but like if you're a Michigan fan, you have to feel good if they find a way to get ahead early and like maintain a lead. Just going to be interesting how the run game goes.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's not built for that. They're not built for that early punch in the mouth comeback effort, you know. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say, because like I mentioned the schedule for Georgia or for Michigan, I feel like I need to at least do it for Georgia. And like, you know, before the Alabama loss, I mean, they were dominant. I mean, they destroyed Georgia Tech, destroyed, I think it's Charleston Southern, which whatever, destroyed Tennessee, destroyed Mizzou, destroyed Florida. They basically destroyed Kentucky, but Kentucky covered. And I am only mentioning that because it was one of the greatest covers of the year. If you know, you know. They destroyed Auburn. They destroyed Arkansas. They destroyed Vanderbilt. That's like their last 10 games. So, like, outside of that Alabama game, like, they have been dominant all year. And, like, they very much deserve to be in this position. They'd be playing Cincinnati if they would have beat Alabama. And it would have been interesting to see who would have been in Alabama's spot in this playoff. But, of course, we don't get to see that. But
Notre Dame. Just throwing that out there. I don't know. I want
God. Oh God! Don't say that. I'm not I'm a little bit of a Notre Dame hater, but whatever.
No, I figured. I mean, most people are that, you know, people are that aren't fans of them. But to your point, I like SP Plus. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Cody. It's a Football Outsiders, stat, but they kind of rank teams by SP Plus, and they made this line -6. So they're saying the spread's a little too high here, and I don't know, man. I really want to see it happen. So sometimes the numbers align with your heart, and in this case, to me, the numbers kind of align with the heart. Even though I don't want, like, I'm not like a Michigan, like through and through Michigan guy, but it's a Big Ten school, so yeah, why not?
Yeah, and I mean, every time a Big Ten school gets into the college football playoff, they seem to find a way to at least win one game. I mean, we know we're Bears fans. We saw Justin Fields come out and just absolutely slaughter Clemson last year. I mean, so I'm hoping we follow that up again as far as the conference follows it up again this year and wins this game. And it's not like Michigan's a giant underdog here. It's only a touchdown. This game's going to be close. It's going to be the best game we watch tomorrow. It's going to be one we remember for a long time. Even though I'm not a Michigan fan, but it's just like as a gambler, I feel like I'm going to remember this. Like if we hit Michigan plus 7.5, like we're going to be talking about it as one of the like most fun games that we've watched all season for sure.
Oh, absolutely! Like that's going to be the talk of. Like I'll probably be DMing you like at halftime, like, dude, they're up by 13. I'm just knock on wood, but it's going to be one of those games where you're going to be talking about for a while and during the game. You know.
All right. Well, anything else, man? There's obviously a bunch more games on Saturday. They're not the college football playoff game, but they are bowl games, and I know there's there's 3 of them that we really want to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, nothing else on those games. I mean, just kind of riding or dying by these teams, but most confident, I think. I'm most confident in the Michigan play. But
I would say I'm most confident in Michigan as well.
Yeah, and
again, I would only take Cincinnati if it goes past 14.5, or even more so, just 14. Like I just want to emphasize that one more time. Like if it's more than 2 touchdowns, like I'm taking Cincinnati. But if it's under 2 touchdowns, I'm taking Bama.
Yeah, so that definitely makes sense. Yeah, and we got some good ones coming up though. I mean, with the Outback Bowl. It's weird how they do this though. Like with this college football playoff, they do the college football playoff, and then we got these other kind of scrubby games. which, I mean, not to call them like bad games. They're going to be good games, but, you know, you got all these guys opting out and stuff, so it's not quite the same as the Thunder games that they were during the season, you know?
The opt-outs on this Outback Bowl really affected the spread because so the Outback Bowl is Penn State and Arkansas. And what you call it? What's his name? Jahan Dotson for Penn State. He's like their best receiver. He's opting out. And I know a few other guys are out. I know for Arkansas, Treylon Burks is out. And then Penn State safety Jaquan Brisker is out as well. All those guys, future first-round picks, at least according to, you know, the people, the experts, apparently. So it went from Arkansas being an underdog to a almost 3-point favorite. And as someone who actually went to see Arkansas play football this year in person, thanks to my day job, I'm going to take KJ Jefferson and the Razorbacks here to win because I just think that he, similar to Hooker for Tennessee, he's not a quarterback that Penn State has really seen all season. And I think that we'll play against Penn State, a Penn State team that lost to Illinois. That I just need to emphasize that again, that they lost to Illinois. So I know Penn State's not a bad team, but I'll take Arkansas here.
Yeah, I mean, like Penn State had high hopes for possibly a Big Ten title. I mean, they started out hot, started out 5-0, and then they ran into problems. Obviously, they faced when they started facing important teams too. They could not beat important teams. Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan State. Throw in your football school, Illini, the Illinois. That game was like, I don't even understand. I watched that game, 500 million overtimes. They ran back and forth like they were like training
it's a record
for a
that's never going to be broken, man. That record's never being broken, like literally.
The new rule is just ridiculous.
It's so dumb, yeah.
Really I did not realize that was the rule until that game. That's how like out of touch I was with the overtime rules. But dude, they were like training for a marathon, like running back and forth between every possession. It was just across the field. Anyways, we're not talking about that. This game, I'm with you, man. KJ Jefferson, he's a good dual threat too. He can move the ball on the ground. I mean, even with Treylon Burks out, I think like this Penn State team just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. They let down when the going gets tough or when in big games like. And this could be considered a big game. It is a bowl game.
I also think Arkansas's defense is better than Penn State's too.
I mean, the Nittany Lions have they had a good defense this year, but I don't know. When they started facing like good teams, that's when it showed that they had some issues, you know. So
yeah. I mean, so I'm looking at the schedules. I mean, Arkansas is coming off a double-digit win over Missouri, which doesn't say much. They only lost by a touchdown to Alabama. They beat up on, I'm trying to look. I know they beat Texas, which by season's end wasn't that big of a win because Texas fell apart. But early in the season when it happened, people were like shocked by it. But yeah, I mean, they beat Texas A&M, and I for some reason I just feel like Arkansas is the play here. All things considered, with the opt-outs, Penn State, as much as like I want to cheer for the Big Ten school, like I don't know, man. Like I've just with the guys that opting out, and like you look at like how these teams do things, like it's hard for me to really believe in Penn State winning this game or even lose, like being in it really. Like it's 2.5 right now, 2.5 points. The total is 48.5. Like I just think Arkansas is just going to run the ball down their throats and use KJ Jefferson as a dual threat to like open up the passing game. And that's it. Cause again, I just don't feel like Penn State's really seen a quarterback like him. There aren't really a lot of quarterbacks like him in the Big Ten. And I know, again, with Hooker for Tennessee and Purdue today is kind of the same thing, but I think Purdue just won. I think that loss is more so on Tennessee than it is that Purdue was better than them. Don't let the spoiler makers come yell at me about that, but there's a reason that Tennessee was the favorite today. They just had more mistakes. I just think if Arkansas doesn't make any mistakes and they just do what they've been doing all season, like they should win this game easily.
All right, we're riding with Pig Suey. Let's do it.
Pig Suey, baby.
Woo Pig Suey. That's cool that you got to watch him though. That you went down there. And watched.
No, where they play is a really cool stadium. I got to sit in like a box seat and everything. It is pretty cool. So, all right, man. Well, I'm gonna shift it over to you because we're moving to Oklahoma State and Notre Dame, and you're the Notre Dame guy. So you're gonna have to try to convince me into betting Notre Dame because right now I want to bet Oklahoma State. So let's hear it.
Hey, I didn't say I was betting Notre Dame.
I'm a Notre Dame guy. I didn't say I was betting them though.
Well, I just, sometimes I just like to assume. So
okay, I'm betting. They're winning this game by a tutty or more. They're winning this game by a tutty more. I'll tell you what. Okay, well, let's just break it down for a second because I wrote down some stuff about Oklahoma State. I can't just completely say they're going to run them over here because I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be a good game. I think both these teams finished with good records, obviously. Both were in consideration down the stretch for the college football playoff, too. So, Oklahoma State, they started out the year, they were just running through teams. Or just, I don't know if they were running through teams, but they were winning. They were winning games. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. I think Notre Dame, they got out of the gates slow, but they picked it up down the stretch. Like, they really started to crush teams on both sides of the ball towards the end of the season. OSU, Oklahoma State, they entered bowl season leading the nation in sacks and tackles for loss and top 5 in total defense. Still. Notre Dame's defense was getting after it, and Isaiah Foskey, he's tied for 4th all-time in single-season Notre Dame history for sacks now. This is Marcus Freeman's first game as head coach after that Southern pretending, backstabbing Brian Kelly dipped out to LSU. Have fun, buddy. Irish by a million.
Irish by a million. Oh my God!
So what do you think? Did I convince you?
Still haven't convinced me. You didn't convince me. I'm still gonna bet Oklahoma State, man, because all I got to do is just look at Notre Dame's schedule, and honestly, to me, their best win is far and away against Wisconsin. Which then the week after they lost to Cincinnati, which at the time I don't know, people were still, people were high on Cincinnati, but I believe going into that game, Notre Dame was the favorite. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't know. They have not lost since that game against Cincinnati, but they also, this is bringing out my Notre Dame hate because I just wish they'd join a conference. It would be a lot easier for me to be able to read if they're a good team or not. And this is, personally, I think this is why they're not in the playoff because, they play USC, they play Navy, they play Virginia, they play Georgia Tech. They beat up on Stanford. I don't. How am I supposed to read this, man? I don't know.
They kind of. If you put it like that, though, they kind of are almost like in a conference because they play a lot of ACC schools. They play a lot of Pac-12 schools, mostly, right? So,
yeah.
Some of them aren't that great. Not gonna sit here and say
they did beat Purdue. I'll give them credit for that too. They did beat Purdue.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I look at Oklahoma State and I'm like, they were very good all season. And I'm not saying the Big 12 is great. I don't think it was that great this year. Baylor is pretty good. Oklahoma, who we talked about yesterday, they should have been better than what they were. And Texas should have been better than what they ended up being.
Texas is not a state.
Yeah, Texas is not a state.
They should actually be banned from this podcast from now on. I don't ever want to talk about Texas.
Yeah, dude.
You know how many times I bet on Texas this year? And got
way too many times. Yeah, because they would get a huge lead and then choke it away.
Oh my God. The worst second half team in college football history.
Anyway, despite all those things, I just felt like Oklahoma State just played very well against all the top teams in the Big 12. I mean, they trailed by a touchdown or two against Oklahoma in late November and came back to win that game. That's a big rivalry game. And then they had the big letdown against Baylor with the chance to go to the college football playoff. I think that there has to be something there that is going to rile these guys up to want to end the season the right way. Personally, I like Oklahoma State here. The total 45.5. I'm just avoiding that because I just don't. If I bet it, I'm betting the over because that's just too low points. It's the total is too small. But I understand why it's so small. So
yeah,
I hope I hope it goes over that much because shit, that's gonna be a boring game if it doesn't. So yeah, man. This has nothing to do with my disdain for the University of Notre Dame. It's more so I just feel like this is one of those years for Oklahoma State. 11-2. Notre Dame, I get it. Freeman coming in, Ryle, or what are they? What am I trying to say? Riling the troops or whatever. Brian Kelly, left everyone for not all that. I get it. I totally get it. But I don't know. Maybe I would sway to Notre Dame if we get some injury news or something tomorrow that drastically changes it. But there isn't any of that. They're
a crazy opt out or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys who are out for Notre Dame, but they've been out since November or October, so we've known they're going to be out. But other than that, they're pretty healthy. I mean, again, it's at 2.5, probably be 3 whenever we bet the game tomorrow, but or on Saturday. But they're both pretty they're all at full strength. No one opted out. I think this is a bigger game for Oklahoma State than it is for Notre Dame. Notre Dame, plays in these types of games every year, and I don't know. To me, it just means more to Oklahoma State at this point.
Yeah,
but I could understand why Notre Dame will treat this game differently than in years past because with Brian Kelly's departure. So
yeah,
I just think Oklahoma State's the better team. Southern fraud.
I think I'm with you though. I think it's gonna be a close game. They're really pretty even. Even though Oklahoma State, they might have better competition that they play in the better division or better conference. I think they don't really blow teams out either. So I think even if they could win this game easily, because I mean the spread even tells you that it's not a very crazy spread, but I mean they could easily win this game, and I don't see them winning by more than 10 points if they win this game. So
yeah,
it's definitely gonna be a fun one to watch. Hopefully not too boring, like you said, but
right. I hope not.
I'm rooting for my Irish here.
I don't blame you. All right, let's move to the final one on Saturday that we like, and that's Iowa and Kentucky. I'll just go ahead and say it. Iowa's not a state, and I like the Wildcats here, man. I do, not just because I have a disdain for Iowa, but Goodson being out for Iowa kind of scares me. And I think Kentucky, they're both very similar teams, right? Great defense. They run the ball, very old school type teams. But it's not like we see Kentucky playing in these bigger bowl games every year. I think this game means more to them. And I like what they're building there. They're going to turn themselves into a football school somehow, some way, instead of a basketball school. I like Kentucky in this game. What's at 3 points right now, so they're both pretty even. But with that running back being out for Iowa, it kind of scares me a little bit. So that's why I'm kind of on Kentucky. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I like this Kentucky team. I bet on them a few times during the year, and they won me some money. Like I like this team.
They had the greatest cover of all time against Georgia. Like I mentioned it earlier, greatest cover of all time. Like it came down, like it was already like a blowout, but the spread was 21.5 points. And like the coach for Kentucky was like, screw it. We have so many boosters that bet on this game. We have to cover for people to at least be happy that we covered. And like when the game meant nothing, they were calling timeouts in the final minutes of the game so they could help get all the way down the field to score, to cover the spread. I will never forget. It was one of the greatest covers of the year. One of the greatest covers of the year.
That was absolutely, like you said, a booster thing. Like,
yeah, oh yeah, no, it was no doubt that it was a booster thing, because like, why else would the coach give two fucks about covering the spread?
Yeah, I mean, there's some coaches that like admit that I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a pretty big college football coach that said like he knows what the spreads are going into the games, and but I mean, that like more of them know it. They just, some of them just don't give a fuck. And then others are like, yeah, we're going to get this extra 10 grand here for our program or whatever. Like, I'm going to, I'm going for it. I'm calling timeouts with like 30 seconds left when I'm down by, however many points. But yeah, man, with this game, I think like, I don't even know who's playing quarterback for Iowa. I mean, I'm an Iowa fan, but Spencer Petras is dealing with an injury. Alex Padilla is not that good. He hasn't been that good. He's young, but he hasn't shown that he's that good. I don't think it matters either, because Kirk or Brian Ferenz's offense, like the play calling, it's close to Matt Nagy level of dumb. Like I literally, all of my teams that I like have just terrible offenses for the most part. Like,
you like Wisconsin, you like Iowa, and you like Notre Dame, bro, and you like the Chicago Bears.
It is. How do you get more miserable as a football fan? Can we just get the worst quarterbacks possible and just throw them all in this guy's favorite teams list? Like, that's what it feels like God is doing to me every year. I just get these horrible quarterbacks that I have to root for, and offensive line too. Like this offensive line outside of Tyler Linderbaum, which he's going to play because that dude is just the shit, and he's a great dude. And I don't know, I'm not going to go on and on about him, but he's going to be a high commodity too for the NFL draft. And it's cool that he's playing in this game despite that. But Matt Hankins is going to be out in the secondary. I mean, I think it's going to be a struggle for points on both sides of the ball. You mentioned Tyler Goodson being out. That's a huge blow. I can't give this out as a real bet to make, but I will be betting Iowa. But I'm also taking the under 44 points. So that's like that'll be
the
my
under
show.
The under might be the safe play in this one.
Yeah. Well, maybe
we got a Saturday 1:00 bowl game here between these two barn burning offenses. I don't know, man. It's I kind of like the under. It's just like betting college football unders at 44 is so tough. So tough. And
I'm always worried about like turnovers too, because Iowa gets so many turnovers that scares me.
Yeah, Iowa, they rank number 1 in takeaways in the country, so like that could mean something. But also, Kentucky ranks number 6 in the country too, I think, if I'm reading that right. Yeah, takeaways, they rank 6. So they're like both, like this could just, like, I feel like the team that makes the most mistakes is like on the turnover side is going to lose this game.
Yeah. We're going to see something stupid, man. We're going to see something stupid where Iowa turns the ball over at like the 20-yard line. Kentucky has it in great possession, and then they turn it over, and it's just like, I hope that's what we get so I can just get my under, but no one actually wants to score.
Like if all those turnovers happen, you just gotta hope that like they happen, but like it's not a pick 6 or a fumble 6 or something like that, right?
Exactly.
Like to bet on that is tough. Like that's what's so tough for me on betting those totals. If anything, maybe a little first half action on the under. I feel like in the first half it might be, I could see it going to halftime being like 9-6 or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like both teams just like punching each other back and forth and doing nothing, running into a wall basically. I could see that. The second half, though, it's when all the wildness happens, in my opinion. This in a lot of these bowl games. So I don't know. That's a play, though.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, seems like those are the safer options. First half overs, first half unders. Those are they're more obscure and people don't talk about them, but those are the ones that most of the time hit.
Yeah. Anything else on this one, man?
Nope, just go Iowa. Hawkeyes by 1,000,000.
Hawkeyes by 1,000,000. Well, I'm still taking Kentucky. All right. The last two games of college, we're just going to briefly touch on because I don't think we really have a play on them. It's Utah and Ohio State and Baylor and Mississippi or Ole Miss, whatever. I'll just say the two wide receivers being out for Ohio State scares me. And Utah played very well at the end of the year, but they're also a Pac-12 school, so I'm probably still going to take Ohio State. That's really all I got on that game because it's just like Ohio State, they haven't played a game since the Michigan game. So, they still have Stroud, and you feel like they have something to prove, right? I feel like this is one of those bounce-back things. It's at 4.5. I would not go past 6 for Ohio State in this one. Utah played so good this year, and they don't really have any. I don't think they have anyone sitting out. So, I don't know. It just scares me because they're Pac-12 school. That's what scares me most. But Ohio State also lost to Oregon this year, so I mean that's another thing. So. Now I'm going to talk myself into taking Utah. See, that's why I'm kind of we're briefly talking about it. I don't really know what to take, but off first glance, I'll probably take Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually with you here because I think Utah, their quarterback's pretty good. Cameron Rising, obviously, is 18-5, touchdown to interception. Tavion Thomas, he ran for over 1,000 yards, 20 touchdowns. I mean, they can make some plays, and they're defensively, 4 of their last 5 opponents they've held to 13 or fewer points. But this is just a different team with Ohio State, even with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave at wide receiver being opting out. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jingba, he led the team with 80 catches and over 1,200 yards. So he was actually their most productive from just the stats side of things. And he's a legit wide receiver too. I've never seen a wide receiver team like Ohio State. Those 3 guys were just unbelievable this year. But, and then Travion Henderson, he looks unreal out of the backfield. He's still going to be there. He's going to be playing. So I'm on the Ohio State side. There's something to that after that Michigan game. That they're pissed off. This is
because they were getting clowned online. There has to be something. Ryan Day has to have these guys thinking about going into this game and just absolutely blowing them out. He wants them to score 100 on Saturday. I feel like
without a doubt. This team's going to come fired up. They're going to be. If whoever plays in this game is playing to play. They're not. Yeah. We saw it. Was it last night with the Oklahoma game? Guys on the other side, there were a couple opportunities where they could have made some catches too. And the guy just kind of alligator armed it.
Yeah, I'm
what are you doing?
There was a moment for an Oregon wide receiver to get a touchdown, and he just didn't even try to get it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I just don't see that's going to happen here with Ohio State, and they're just so explosive offensively. Even without those 2 guys, I think, I'm going to lay the points with Ohio. I didn't know if I had anything in this game originally, and then I looked at it, and I'm like, yeah, let's just go ahead and roll with Ohio State, even though I fucking hate
It's kind of hard to not take Ohio State with this small points too, right? Because most of their spreads are usually double digits. So I guess Pac-12 school, They probably don't want to lose to it'd be hard for me to believe that they're going to lose to 2 Pac-12 schools in one season. So I like them -4.5 right now. Probably be closer to, honestly, by the time Saturday rolls around, it'll probably be closer to 6. So
yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I wonder though, like what public money, like what some people would think about the wide receivers if they're looking at it as like that's a huge loss, or you know what I mean? I don't know what the public's going to do, but
yeah. Well, I'm looking here, and it says that it opened at Ohio State -7, and it's moved down to 4.5. So I could see it going down lower. I forgot that I had realized that, but I mean, I also could see some Ohio State bets coming in too. Like I could still see it moving back up maybe to like 5 or 5.5. So that's interesting though that it started at 7 and it came down to 4.5. That really doesn't change my mind. I'm probably still gonna take Ohio State.
yeah, same. Yeah, you know you're gonna get those Ohio State backers though, last minute, all those fans, but
for sure.
I'm still taking them.
All right, last college football game, Baylor versus Ole Miss. It's pretty much a pick 'em. I think I saw it at 1.5. The over under is 55.5. Joey, I was just talking all the nice stuff about Baylor, man, and that's kind of why I want to take them. I coming off, a Big 12 championship, they're going to play Ole Miss, who admittedly, Ole Miss has cost me some money this year because I keep betting against them. So, I mean, I feel like maybe I should just keep that trend going, even though I keep losing those bets. But I don't know, man. I like the coach with Baylor, how he like came up from like, I mean, he was like, what was the story? He was like living on the streets or something like that. And then at one point, like 10 years ago, and then now he's a Big 12 championship coach or whatever. The odds of him to win coach of the year in the conference this year for Vegas were like insane. And I don't know. I feel like they're riding, like they're going to, after that, I don't want to call it an upset win over Oklahoma State, but like, I don't know. I feel like that's going to ride into this game. Like this is one of the best seasons for the program, I feel like. So the people are going to care. They don't have anyone sitting out for the draft or anything like that. So I don't know, man. How you feel?
So we're going to be on opposite sides here, and not because I don't really have anything against Baylor, and I don't really want to bet on Ole Miss, but I don't know. Matt Corral is going to play in this game. He said he can't leave his guys behind. It's just my teammates. I never questioned it. 1, I wanted to play, and 2, if I was in their shoes, I couldn't just live with what they would think of me just leaving. So that quote to me, I was like, all right, this dude, like, it's cool not only that he gave that quote and said that, but I think he's a big difference maker in this game. I mean, Baylor, they win the turnover battle, but they aren't that flashy. Like when they beat you, they turned over Spencer Sanders. They picked him off 4 times, but Ole Miss, they really don't turn the ball over that much. I mean, they don't have a huge problem there. And TCU, they were able to carve up Baylor for 562 yards. They've given up 260 yards or more in 6 of their last 8. Talking about Baylor's running game, I mean, which they're really good at. Ole Miss led the SEC in rushing behind Jerry and Ely, and then Matt Corral running out of the pocket. So I hate trusting Lane Kiffin and his weird in-game decisions, and like whatever he decides to do, it always seems like the wrong decision. But give me Ole Miss. It's a close game. Whatever, pick them. I'm not even sure what it's at now, like 1.5 maybe. But I think
you kind of convinced me in taking the over.
Maybe.
Yeah, because Ole Miss puts up a ton of points. I mean, Ole Miss this year, they are 3-9. The over, they've hit the over 3 times and they've hit the under 9 times, but that's because the point total has been so high in some of their games at 55.5. I mean, with what you're telling me about Baylor and how much yards they give up through different areas, then on perhaps we get a little bit of a shootout. I don't know. We'll see.
I would like that to finish out that night. I would like that.
Yeah, I like it. All right. I think it is time, man. We made it an hour, and so if you're listening right now, we're gonna end this one, but at least if you're listening right now via podcast form, we're gonna end this episode, but go to the very next one, and we're gonna do the NFL slate.
Well, Cody, wait, real fast. We didn't give out a crack 'em lock 'em.
What's the lock 'em of the crack 'em lock or whatever? I don't even know what the technical term is. We've been using lock 'em as like our hashtag lately, which I really like, by the way. I don't know how I came up with it, but if you have any better ideas, let me know.
No, but what do you think is for college, like for these couple days here? What do you think is your crack 'em lock 'em?
It's so tough because college football is so unpredictable. But I really feel like Michigan is gonna like be close in this one. It's gonna be less than a touchdown. I got to roll with Michigan plus 7.5, and that would be my lock of the weekend for college football. So I'm gonna lock them up, and then I'm gonna crack a few Busch Lights and sit down and watch that games tomorrow night, man.
Yeah, I was leaning that way too, but I'll be different just because maybe we could toss it as like the lock 'em parlay. That'll be like the start of it, and then we'll do a graphic or something. But so I do like Michigan a lot there. I'm gonna take Michigan too, but for my lock, I'm gonna be a homer, and I'm gonna say Notre Dame gets it done.
Oh my
God.
The
Marcus Freeman era is here, and yeah, give me Notre Dame as my lock 'em.
God bless your soul, man, because you're going to be hurt on Saturday night, man. All right, let's get to the NFL slate. All right. So what I've been doing on all of our NFL shows that I've been on is I've been choosing like 2 games in the noon and then 2 games in the 3 and then Sunday night and Monday Night Football, and then obviously we do the Bears game. So for me, I know I told you what games we're going to do, but I feel like I might as well just unless you have some more games to add, Joey, but unless you don't, I feel like we can start with the Chiefs and the Bengals in the noon slate on Sunday. I believe it's on Sunday. Last week when I did the show by myself, I got confused, or I said some games were on certain days, and it turns out I was wrong because there was games on Saturday, but I don't think there's any games on Saturday this week. So, yeah, they play at noon, Kansas City at the Cincinnati Bengals. We got Patrick Mahomes versus Joe Burrow, who is on an absolute tear right now. Had his best offensive performance of the season probably last week. Probably not only his, but the best offensive performance from anyone last week against the Ravens. The over-under is at 51. Spreads at 5, with the Chiefs being 5-point favorites on the road. I will just start by reminding people that the Bengals lost to the Chicago Bears early in the season. And I understand that the Bengals are a complete different team now, but the Chiefs are on an absolute tear right now, folks. They are getting ready. They are preparing themselves to be in the AFC Championship game next month. And that is why I am riding the Chiefs until this thing flares out. I am riding them until it doesn't, because last week I told you take the Chiefs against the Steelers, even despite the small spread, or not the small spread, the big spread. It was 10.5 against the Steelers, and they literally destroyed the Steelers last week. They covered 3 points against the Chargers the week before. They destroyed the Raiders -10 3 weeks ago. And they beat Denver. They beat Dallas. They have not lost since October in terms of win-loss, but they've covered for 6 straight games. I like the Chiefs on the road against a Bengals team that sometimes you just don't really know what you're going to get. Like I took the Ravens last week because they got blown out by the Bengals earlier in the year. I knew Lamar Jackson wasn't going to play, but this Ravens team finds a way to just be in games. And it was 7 points. Now this Bengals team has to go up against this Chiefs team that is emerging, like quietly emerging too. Like no one's talking about them right now. I love the Chiefs -5, man, on the road.
So you mentioned some things and reasons why. Remember we were talking about earlier with Michigan potential letdown spot against Iowa? And I said, yeah, that didn't strike me as a letdown spot because they were too close. Basically is what I was feeling. They're too close. They could taste it. They're better than Iowa. Mm-hmm. This is the NFL. This strikes me as the letdown spot right here. Okay. I'm on the Chiefs. I'm on the Bengals. I'm fading the Chiefs. The 8-game winning streak, they're playing excellent. They're clicking at the right time. They started off slow. They're playing really well, and they're fighting for the top seed right now for the AFC. So they want to grab home field advantage. I mean, this is a big game for the Chiefs. But with that said, I mean, the Bengals, this is also a big game for them. So I don't know. I don't see the letdown spot coming in the playoffs for the Chiefs. Like I think that they could potentially get back to the Super Bowl again. And so for me, it has to come this week because I don't see them losing to the Broncos next week. So I'm just kind of like trying to figure out, are they going to go on like an incredible stretch where they just don't lose again this year? Like that could happen, but and they probably even win this game. But this strikes me as a spot where the Bengals could kind of get them here. I mean, you were talking about Joe Burrow, the crazy week last week, 525 yards, 4 touchdowns. I don't see him doing that again this week because the Chiefs defense is playing much better now. But
they playing like one of the best defenses in the league right now, man.
They've been lights out. But they did
10
give
points
up
against the Steelers.
10 points against the Steelers. Week. They did give up 28 to the Chargers, though. I mean,
that's true.
They can
much better offensive team.
Yeah, they can be beat. I mean, I might be wrong here, and I've gotten the Bengals wrong a couple times. Like just thinking that this is a week where the spread looks off, whatever. I might be wrong here. I'm going to take a stab with the Bengals catching the points. Might put a little on this, just a little sprinkle on the money line. But yeah, I am on the Bengals here.
What do you think about the total? It's a 51. I kind of like the over here. I think that this could be a little bit of a shootout, but I don't think the Bengals want it to be a shootout. But yeah. I think it becomes one because the Chiefs will force them into having to play up to them. Unless they have this huge letdown and their offense goes back to how it was, back in October when Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers are coming into KC and the Chiefs are putting up 13 points against, a Packers defense that is good but not that good to stop an offense like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't see that happening. I don't see their defense or their offense having a huge letdown like that. If there's any letdown to me from the Chiefs, it's their defense.
Mm-hmm. I could see. I'm with you. I could see. The only thing that scares me about the total because it is kind of high now for an NFL game. The only thing that scares me about taking the over is I could see the Bengals really trying to control time of possession with Mixon and really trying to hammer the ball on the ground, even as great as Burrow has been. But like you said, I mean, what Kansas City's going to do. They're probably going to throw the ball. I mean, it could get out of hand offensively. They could really force the Bengals to be like, all right, Burrow, like, you got to go get him, dude. You got to go get him.
Like, when I look at the Chiefs schedule and I look at, like, how their offense was playing earlier in the year, like, how Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, they're trying to hit the deep ball all the time, right? Like they're trying to hit the home run play. But over like the last like month and a half or so, like Mahomes is kind of like, I guess, finally realized that he can throw short. He can dink and dunk too. Like he can, take what the defense gives them. And it's turned into, obviously longer drives and, them controlling the ball more, but obviously it's helping them win, and it's helping them win by a ton of points. So that's like, because of what they've been doing offensively is why I'm on the Chiefs here, and why I kind of like the over as well, just because if I just don't see the Bengals making the Chiefs play the Bengals type of game.
Yeah.
The only way I see any kind of letdown from the Chiefs is if their defense gives up, 30 points, but I see their offense being just fine throughout the game.
I think their offense will be fine in this game because, I don't really think the Bengals they're improved defensively, but not to the talent level, I don't think, yet to quite face a team like this. And you mentioned it, the adjustments they've made, Mahomes has made, throwing underneath and stuff. I mean, that also does kind of scare me for the total, but they can make so many explosive plays that it's like, even if they do underneath stuff, Tyreek Hill could have something underneath and just pop one for 90 yards. So it's like, I don't know. I could see an over game here too. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think you're taking the Bengals. I'm taking the Chiefs, and right now we're leaning the over. Let's get to the next game. Rams at Baltimore. So the spread is 4.5 with the Rams as a favorite on the road. So back-to-back games where the road is the favorite. The road team is the favorite. Lamar Jackson's still not. It's still not sure if he is going to be back or not. But even if he is back, I still love the Rams in this game. Similar to the Chiefs, I feel like the Rams are kind of back to how they were playing at the beginning of the year, where they were just rolling. And we've kind of seen it the last couple weeks. They were like an easy play last week against Minnesota as 3-point favorites. They won by a touchdown. Should have been more, honestly, but Stafford threw a couple picks, whatever. I'm never betting on Kirk Cousins to win me money. They beat Seattle by 10. They beat Arizona, and they beat Jacksonville. They've won 4 in a row. And all 4 of those games, it seems like they're starting to get back. No one took the Jacksonville game seriously, but, beating Arizona was pretty big for them. I think even though Seattle is not very good, it's still tough to beat Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson and then beating Minnesota. I feel like the Ravens are very similar to what we see out of Minnesota. Like, you can see, sometimes you'll see great, like you'll watch Minnesota and be like, man, that could be a scary team to play if they somehow get in the playoffs. But then you watch Minnesota, when we watch Minnesota against the Bears, and they look like a team that doesn't know how to do anything on offense. And the Rams, whether they have Jalen Ramsey in or out, like, their defense has been just fine. But their offense, because they've been running the ball a ton more, has really taken pressure off Stafford and kind of propelled them into, I don't know, a better spot. I just feel like their offense is clicking on all cylinders right now because they've been able to run the ball. Cam Akers somehow, some way is going to play in this game, despite, getting an Achilles injury in the offseason.
That's unreal.
I know Henderson's out probably, but yeah, he's out. Yes, with a knee. But I think as long as they can run the ball, whether it's with Akers or whoever the hell else they got, I think the Rams go into Baltimore and kind of just like solidifies the fact that the Ravens were frauds all along. Because I don't know about you, but I felt like the Ravens were overachieving all season, and we've started to see it over the last month because they've lost like 4 in a row now, and they just really haven't played well. And I know Lamar Jackson hasn't been in, but even when Lamar Jackson was in, at the beginning of this losing skid, he wasn't playing very well. And if he does play, he's going to have some rust. Again, I know they have the home field, but I like the Rams to keep rolling, and the Ravens, honestly, people are going to start shitting on John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson and for shitting the season down the throat. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be bad. I like the Rams to not only cover, but honestly, I can see them winning by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a case of like 2 teams heading in the opposite direction, Like the Rams obviously winning 4 straight, the Ravens losing 4 straight. Lamar Jackson questionable to play, didn't practice today, was limping yesterday. Even if he plays, how's he going to be on the ankle? I mean, a huge part of their offense is running from the quarterback position too, whether people want to, buy into it or not. Like, you have Tyler Huntley, whatever, whoever's going to be playing, like somebody has to be. That's just what John Harbaugh has kind of dialed up for this team is they have to be mobile quarterbacks, somebody that is like Lamar Jackson because he's built the offense around Lamar Jackson to this point. But, yeah, I just think, I don't know, without Lamar, even if he plays, if he's limited at all, this is just an uphill battle for the Ravens here. I'm completely with you. Give me the Rams. I'd probably lay it up to 5.5, maybe even 6. I think the Rams are getting pretty healthy now too, and the Ravens, they had a lot of guys on that injury report that I don't know. It looks a little ugly with the Ravens side of things. So give me the Rams too.
Right. Yeah, I forgot to even mention like the injuries for the Ravens too. I mean, Hollywood Brown is questionable right now. They've had a ton of guys out with COVID, especially like in their secondary and everything too. Like I just don't like I don't like the feeling within the Ravens right now. And I paid for it last week thinking they would cover 7 against Cincinnati with a third string quarterback. So I again, whether Jackson plays or not, I like the Rams. And if Jackson does play, I feel like that number will come down. So perhaps wait for it to come down or wait for the news to come out on whether he's going to play or not and then make the bet, because I feel like if Jackson plays and Schefter announces it like on Sunday morning, like I feel like some of that money will be going to the Ravens then. Again, I really love the Rams in this spot. So to me, it really doesn't matter if Jackson plays or not.
Yeah, I mean, to your point too, I don't know. Like, what if they announce him out and then you get it at a worse number?
Right, right.
So I'm worried about that too. I'm going to put a bet in here in a little bit, probably on the Rams, and then, like you said, maybe you get a better number. You just double dip, like fuck it, put 2 units on it once it comes to like 2.5 if he's in or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, right now it says Jackson's questionable. So we probably won't know until Saturday or Sunday morning. So we'll see. Do you want to do the Bears game next? They play in the noon slate, don't they?
Yeah, they're playing the noon slate.
We can do the Bears Giants. It's going to be a real barn burner. It's going to be the worst game ever. I'm taking the Bears -6. And I think it's disgusting, but that's just how bad the Giants are.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I think it's stupid. It's so stupid. I think, like, prediction-wise for score, I'll just give that out. I think it's going to be like 24-13. I don't know how the Bears are going to get 24 points, but I do think they're going to get 24 points. So I'd like to get this at 36.5 if I could. I don't know. I guess if I'm thinking taking the over, right? Like, just give me 13 points from the Giants. Just give me 13 points. Bears, just give me 24 points. Someone bet this down to 36.5, because it's just so low. Like, that's just ridiculous. I mean, like even the Seahawks and Bears game last week was like, that's a snow game. The total's low.
I think the total's so low because the Giants defense has actually played pretty well.
They have,
even against Dallas a couple weeks ago, they only gave up 21 points, even though they could only put up like 6. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback for the Giants. It doesn't really matter if it's Fromm or if it's Glennon. They're just so depleted with injuries at wide receiver as well. I feel like things might be different if they had Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard available. All they really have is Galladay and Evan Ingram. Honestly,
Galladay hasn't done anything all year.
Right. And honestly, like, the Giants make me feel better as a Bears fan a little bit. So I like the Bears in this game.
We're just not quite that bad. Is that what you're saying? We're bad, but we're just not like a complete dumpster fire with.
I feel like our offensive coaching is a little bit better than the Giants, because like at least the Bears more often than not can put up some points. It's like always in the most disgusting fashion, or it's always whenever it doesn't matter anymore. The Giants don't know how to put up points anytime, ever. And that's why I kind of like the under because, like, I could see the Bears putting up 24 points, but I don't know if the Giants will.
Yeah, I mean, like Mike Glennon, former Bear, or Jake Fromm, State Farm. Like, who's doing anything for the Giants? I don't.
Yeah,
I have
mean,
no
I guess
idea.
it is the Mike Glennon revenge game.
It is, but didn't he already beat the Bears? I feel like I don't even know.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
I don't know. I just think the Bears question marks in their secondary. Even with that, like they've shown improvement with like Thomas Graham. He's been since getting playing time. He's been really good in the secondary. Robert Quinn, he's half a sack away from Richard Dent's single season Bears sack record. So I think he's going to be fired up. He's going to get some pressure on whoever's at quarterback. And yeah, just I don't know. Bears to cover. Bears -6. You could probably find -5.5 somewhere. I don't know. This game's disgusting, and I got to talk about it for another hour. I have Bears on tap here in I don't know, like 2 hours from now. So very excited to do that.
Yeah, you sound so excited, man. All right. Let's do the last noon game. We only have 1 3 p.m. game, so that's why I'm okay that we have 4 noon games. The slate this week isn't that bad, and that's why I'm kind of like it's interesting. But Dolphins at Tennessee. Man, the Dolphins really fucked me on Monday night. You're leaning Dolphins plus 3.5, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I kind of get it. I kind of like it. I just feel like if this is I finally dive in on the Dolphins, then they're gonna finally lose.
That's
I really
time.
thought, I really thought that the Saints were going to win the game on Monday, and the Dolphins quite literally dominated them. But Ian Book, obviously, quarterbacks from Notre Dame aren't exactly great at the pro level.
Hey, watch it.
Titans.
No, they're horrible at the pro level.
Yeah, like the last win for a Notre Dame quarterback in the NFL was Brady Quinn. That's like literally almost 10 years ago. But
they make better analysts than they do quarterbacks at the NFL level.
Yeah. The Titans coming off a 3-point win against the 49ers. I don't know. I still don't understand the Titans without Derrick Henry. It's tough. That Dolphins defense was really good, though. Man. Maybe the total is at 39.5. Like, this is dumb. Why do you want to bet this game? I don't like this. If I were to play this game, I'll take the Dolphins this time just because they're underdogs and they're riding this winning streak, and I keep betting against them, so it's time for me to change it up. I swear to God, if Tennessee wins this game by 4 points or more, I'm avoiding any Dolphins game the rest of the year.
Or just avoid me because I'm probably the person I might be the person to talk you into it. But I don't know, man. And maybe this is the letdown spot. Like, it's not the Chiefs, and it's actually the Dolphins because they're coming in here as the second hottest team in the league, 7-game win streak. Absolutely demolished my live midseason under that I took on their win total at 6.5. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I didn't see.
Well, they were 1-7 at one point, bro.
I didn't see them winning 7 straight games.
Yeah.
So the Titans, I mean, they're 10-5. Coming in, obviously 1 game up on the Colts. This is a big game for them. They need to win this game. But the Dolphins, I mean, they haven't exactly played the best quarterbacks during the stretch, too. Like, their defense has been really good, but the best quarterback they faced was probably Lamar Jackson, and they were dialed in on him. I think it was a Thursday night game. They made him look just foolish, but they've been playing excellent defense and stringing together enough offense with Tua, and I don't know how good Tua is overall. Still, I still question how good Tua is, but over like his last 5 games, he has a 75% completion rate, which they don't take too many deep shots, so that's a part of that. He's just really efficient, but he's doing enough. The Titans haven't been the same offense this year since Derrick Henry, as you were talking about. 23.8 points per game this year. Last year they had 29.6 points per game. pretty much middle of the pack this year compared to a top 10 offense or top 5 offense actually in scoring last year. So I think the Dolphins, I think they could pull off the win, or I could see them at least keeping it within 3 points. So if they're catching 3 in the hook, yeah, I like that. I don't think the Titans' home field advantage is really that crazy in Tennessee,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, when they have a winning streak like that and you can get them out as an underdog, it's kind of like you might as well just keep riding it, right?
Yeah, exactly. They haven't hurt me too bad. I mean, I was on it was weird because I took a couple different plays on that Monday night game. I took the Dolphins in certain spots, but I also had like some same game parlays with Ian Book because I was rooting for the Notre Dame guy. So got burnt in every single one of the Ian Book same game parlays. But somehow the Dolphins helped like make it a middling day or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. You hate to see that.
You don't.
I mean, I bet on the Saints the other night, and that is the last time I'm going to bet on Ian Book covering 3 points ever again.
Ian is not a book. He's a magazine.
No, he could be a book though, because the way that those defenses was reading him.
Oh God! That's I set that up way too easy for you.
Yeah. All right. Let's move to the one afternoon game. And just like the Bears and Giants, this one's just as disgusting. It's Detroit at Seattle. And I'm just going to keep it simple. The Lions, they are 2-12-1, but they are 10-5 against the spread, folks. And they covered again last week against the Atlanta Falcons, and now they're going on the road to face Seattle, a Seattle team that really is not good. They are 5-10. They are a team that implodes themselves, just like the Falcons do. And you can get them at 7 points right now. I love the Lions on the road to cover 7, and hell, I might even get a little wild and dabble on the money line because Dan Campbell has these guys playing. He had freaking Tim Boyle go into Atlanta last week and only lose by 4. I can respect that.
Yep. I was about to ask you, like, how are the Seahawks after losing to the Bears favored by 7 points over anyone?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. I mean, that said, I guess Jared Goff, he hasn't practiced each of the last 2 days with the knee. And they just added 2 starters to the COVID list. So I was going to ask you, I don't know what to do with this game. Then please help. But it sounds like you're on the Lions. So
I am on the Lions. I'm riding it because like they just know how to cover. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, they don't know how to win games, but they know how to cover. DK Metcalf is also questionable. I know he was very limited in the game against the Bears too. I know that like with the weather and everything that might have played a bigger factor, but like the Seahawks have plenty of injuries as well. They're not good. They're not good, man. And they blew that game really bad against the Bears. Now that means perhaps a bounce back here, but like also like they're already eliminated from playoff contention. Like how much does Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson care the rest of the season? I don't know. I do know that the Lions, despite being 2-12-1, the way that they play football, they sure as hell care. They care to at least cover. So yeah. I like the Lions here, man. Like it's, DeAndre Swift is probable, so he's gonna have a role. And again, like you mentioned, Jared Goff. I mean, Tim Boyle did fine last week against the Falcons. They didn't win, but like they were in the game, and they had a chance to win the game at the very end.
Yeah,
like how much better are the Seahawks than the Falcons, or how much worse are the Seahawks from the Falcons as well? They're both pretty even in my opinion. I think these points are definitely coming just from like the history of the Seahawks franchise of the last like 10 years or whatever. You know what I mean? I think this is like this might be my lock of the week is Lions +7. And if it's at 7 right now, by Sunday, I could see it at 8.
Yeah, because nobody wants to bet the Lions. So yeah, why not just you could probably wait a little bit. And I wonder, didn't look and see what this one opened up at, but I kind of wonder what it opened up at. But all right, I'm riding. You talked me into it.
I talked you into it.
Let's roll with the Lions. Why not? Everybody loves rooting for an underdog. So, yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. The Lions are the biggest underdog in like all sports. So, we ride. All right. Let's move to Sunday night carry, death taxes, and I've been waiting all day for a Sunday night. We got the Minnesota Vikings traveling to those cucks up in Green Bay to play the Packers and all those stupid idiots who, instead of eating cheese, love to wear it on their head. And with all that said, like I said earlier, I cannot bet on Kirk Cousins on prime time, and it is Packers -7, Packers by 1,000. They're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers for a whole nother week again and how awesome it is, and it's going to be disgusting, and I'm going to hate it, but I'm going to make money while doing it. It's Packers -7. They haven't lost at home. They're 7-0 at home. They're 11-4 against the spread on the season. I don't know what else I got to say, man.
Yeah.
Who's really going to bring themselves to bet on Kirk Cousins to score points? And also, I mentioned the Bears-Vikings game. I was at the Bears-Vikings game on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago. It was freezing. It was freezing cold. It's going to be just like that in Green Bay on a Sunday night. Kirk Cousins is going to want to crawl into a hole and forget how to play football.
He's a dome quarterback. He's a dome quarterback that's better off at noon kickoff. Like,
he's
not. Yeah, he can play in the dome in Minnesota or whatever at noon. But I was going to ask you. I pretty much already knew where you were going with this because I know that you just fade Kirk Cousins every primetime. So I'm actually doing the same thing because, dude, Vikings need to win out against the Packers and the Bears and have the Saints and Eagles each lose at least one more game to make the playoffs as a wild card. Mm-hmm. This game's really important for them, and it's a divisional game. That's the one thing that kind of like scares me or like has me a little like pause for concern. But I always have a rough time like backing touchdown favorites in those spots. That's the one thing too, but especially with things on the line. But man, the Packers are rolling.
Right. Well, I will say this. The last two games, the way games have ended for the Packers, the last two games have not been great. Yeah. And it kind of, I would say, leaves some question for them in the playoffs at least. So, for instance, last week, they had a pretty good sizable lead going into halftime against the Browns, but then only won by 2 points. And honestly, if Baker Mayfield didn't throw 4 picks, they probably lose that game. Then 2 weeks ago against Baltimore, if John Harbaugh doesn't go for 2 at the very end of the game, that game's tied and perhaps going to overtime, or Aaron Rodgers has 42 seconds to like be the savior for the billionth time. So I wouldn't say that was bad. Well, as well in that Ravens game, they were up by 14 points in the fourth quarter, and then they gave up 2 touchdowns. And again, if John Harbaugh doesn't go for 2 points at the very end instead of the extra point, who knows how that game ends. Yeah. So the last 2 games for the Packers, the way the games have ended, have been very questionable, and I could see why perhaps you might want to take the Vikings because of that. But the Packers also lost to Minnesota. That's like one of the few games they've lost this year was to Minnesota. So they have that in their mind. Like Aaron Rodgers isn't going to lose twice to Kirk Cousins this year. He's just not. On prime time, he's going to go out and throw at least 2 touchdowns. Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon's going to add 1. And Chris Collinsworth is going to lick Aaron Rodgers' nuts for 2.5 hours, and it's going to suck. That's what we're signing up for. But if you take Packers -7, you'll at least win some money, man.
Well, first of all, Chris Collinsworth can just like jump off a cliff. Don't actually do that, Chris. But dude, he is like the most annoying. He literally slobs Aaron Rodgers. Every single time they play.
Every time.
And I understand announcers have to do that to a certain extent because they got to hype up their product too. So it's like you're hyping up the legends and he's going to be the Hall of Famer and he's great. And we know that. And you don't have to tell us 500 times. We know.
Right. Right.
But no Adam Thielen. That's a big blow. Dalvin Cook, 1 week removed from COVID. I don't know, man. Like that's tough when you're like.
It's a good point. I didn't mention the injuries. Yeah,
and we've seen guys like Tyreek Hill struggle 1 week coming off of COVID or whatever. I mean, he just didn't have the greatest game coming off of that. So I like the Packers here, -7. I hate the Packers. I don't like the Packers at all, but I like the Packers here because
listen, I hate the Packers as much as anyone, but like I've been betting them all year, and it's been working out because, like I said, they're 11-4 against the spread. Like they've been doing what they're supposed to do.
You're up some units, my friend.
You're right. You're right. So us Bears fans just gotta suck it up. And because it's been miserable, it's been a very bad year, and we have to watch the Packers go to the playoffs again, hopefully lose in the NFC Championship where we at least get some laughter, and then hope and pray Aaron Rodgers actually retires or leaves or whatever. But until then, we're going to bet the Packers because I just do not see any way that the Vikings are in this game on Sunday Night Football. I don't see it. Someone send this to Summer of George. I know he's like the only on-tap guy who's a Vikings fan. He knows that how much I hate Kirk Cousins.
You might have to do like a beat-on hot dog bet or something. I don't know.
I'm not doing any hot dog bets with anything related to Kirk Cousins. I'm not a dumbass. I'm not a moron. Kirk Cousins. This is what I always say about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is like the poor man's Jay Cutler. Like Kirk Cousins will have his games. Like last week, 300 yards passing, couple touchdowns, cool. Like he'll have his good games, but then whenever you need him to show up, he just falls apart or he doesn't show up. You know how many times you saw Jay Cutler do that? Like we always talked about how Jay Cutler had the arm and like he has all the tools and everything. They say the same thing about Kirk Cousins. The only thing that puts Jay Cutler above Kirk Cousins is that he doesn't have a punchable face like Kirk Cousins. That's literally it.
Right.
That's literally it. I look at Kirk Cousins and I want to punch him in the face. He looks like the most annoying person. He looks like someone who has never been told no before.
I bet. I honestly think that that's probably true. You like that? Yeah, no one likes that. No one likes that. I think to your point, like Jay Cutler was even way cooler because at least he could run. Like Kirk Cousins can't run.
Yeah, he can't run. Yeah, and that Packers front seven's pretty good, man. Like their defense is pretty good this year. All right,
the defense is very very solid. Yeah.
Last game, Browns and Steelers on Monday Night Football. Perhaps Ben Roethlisberger's last home game in Pittsburgh. When I say perhaps, I would lean to bet that it is because we've seen enough of Big Ben, I think, not only this year but for the rest of his career. I think it's time for him to hang it up. Right now, spreads at 3.5, over/unders at 41. Cleveland's a 3.5-point favorite on the road at Pittsburgh. As of right now, my friend, I'm leaning Pittsburgh because despite them being bad, they've played well at home. And as a 3-point underdog at home, if I just go through the schedule, obviously they got murdered in Kansas City last week, but they beat Tennessee at home 2 weeks ago. They lost at Minnesota, but they beat Baltimore at home the week before. Lost to Cincinnati, lost to the Chargers. Tied with the Lions at home, beat the Bears at home, which the Bears should have won if it wasn't for that stupid taunting call. Their last road win was in October, but in their last 10 games though they haven't lost at home. The week before the win at Cleveland, they beat Seattle at home. The Browns, they're kind of free falling right now. Like they obviously haven't played up to what the early season expectations were. Baker Mayfield coming off the 4-pick night. They've lost 2 straight. Again, they've lost to a Raiders team they should have beat. And then, no one expected them to beat the Packers, but I don't know. I can't, with the way the Steelers play at home and it perhaps being Big Ben's last home game, I think I got to take the Steelers here.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be like Mr. Narrative guy, but I agree with you. I mean, this guy's won a ton of games at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. He's just won a ton of games, period. But it being his last game, I would imagine there's a little bit of extra juice there. I think Mike Tomlin provides a good game plan for this game to see that they make sure that he gets a win here in his final game. I mean, we all kind of like storybook endings. It's not going to quite end like him going out on top of the Super Bowl, but they also aren't completely eliminated. And Big Ben's aware of that, even based on like his press conference and stuff. So, I mean, the Browns, they need a ton of help too just to get in the playoffs. It's a big game for them. That they have a playoff chances between 11 and 13% chance to make it. So it's pretty much done, but like they're still hanging on for dear life. And I mean, it's going to be a good game, but there's no way I'm stepping in front of that. The Big Ben retirement party, possibly last game, even as dusty as he's been. So Steelers +3, Steelers money line. I like both.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the head-to-head between Cleveland and Pittsburgh in recent years. So earlier this year, Pittsburgh actually went on the road and won at Cleveland. It was a barn-burning 15-10 win.
Good boy.
So I kind of like the under in this game, considering all the people who are going to be out, and what happened in the first game. But last year in the two games that were played, Cleveland won both. And obviously last year was like Cleveland's coming out party after being just absolutely horrific for 20 years or whatever, right? I feel like Pittsburgh, they know the season has been very rough, but like these games against Cleveland mean something. It's a divisional matchup. And again, like I'm not a Baker Mayfield hater. He just has not played that well. And maybe injuries have something to do with that. And maybe, whether it's not being able to run the ball better or whatever. I don't know. Like I don't watch the Browns enough to really truly know, but for me, like I think this game means a hell of a lot more than just Big Ben's last game at home. They still think they can get the playoffs. And plus their record pretty much says, I mean, they're 7-7-1 and Browns are 7-8. Like I guess in terms of like who needs it more, the Browns definitely need it more for playoff positioning, but like, are we going to actually trust the Browns to do that and cover 4 points? Like, that's hard for me. Like, I think it's close, and that's why, especially at the hook right now at 3.5, like, I'll take the Steelers at home.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's going to be that game that it could be sloppy.
And I also like the under too. Like 41. Like, I'll probably take the under in that game too.
Yeah, I probably would too. I'm a little scared. What if like Big Ben just miraculously just becomes undusty for one game and puts up like 35 points though or something? That'd be like the one. That'd be like the one spot where I'm like, all right, as long as I have them +3 and the money line, then it's like, all right, I'll bet the under too because I know I'll be all right. I'll come on top somehow.
Yeah. Well, we've seen that Steelers offense has been fairly inconsistent all season. You say the same thing about Cleveland too. So it is kind of a toss-up if you mess with the total. And I mean, I feel like it's a toss-up no matter what, because like I just said, like you don't really know what you're going to get. But
and I believe
like this,
the pace of play, I'm going to double check that real quick, but I believe both teams are really slow. Like we know the Browns like to run the ball a lot. I mean, Big Ben and them, they throw like they dink and dunk a lot too. So that helps unders all day long.
Right. For sure. All right, man. Well, that's week 17's NFL slate. If you stuck around this entire time with our college football slate as well, thanks for listening. I hope you all take every single bet that we mentioned, and we all ride together, and we all have a great weekend. Joey, the last time we did a show going into a weekend, we were like pretty much all the same, but in this show, I don't feel like we were for every single one. So that's good. I like a little mixture. Hopefully we both come out even in terms of like how many bets we win. And I just want to cash some tickets this weekend, man. That's all I want. Cash some tickets and watch Kirk Cousins suck on prime time, so it backs up my Packers bet as much as I want the Packers to lose.
I'm with you. Let's cash some tickets. Let's I hope neither one of us are like completely just derailed. Like I don't think it'll be that way because we are on the opposite side on a lot of this. So I think it's going to come close here we're going to be closer to like middling, which I don't know. So I guess whoever's listening, just like take what each one of us said and just make your best guess. And also do your own research, because we're not pros. We pay attention a lot, and we love gambling. We love sports, and we're gonna get shit wrong. Like it's happened before. It will happen again. But I'm just hoping that we make a little bit more money than we lose. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Well, you said it. You couldn't have said it better. I guess we could give a lock, like our lock'em, and I guess for the NFL slate, my lock'em will probably be Rams -4.5. I really love that game. Yeah, I like that. And even if Lamar Jackson comes, I like the Rams at 4.5. And if you want me to give something a little bit more like what you could play right now, I really love the Lions +7. Like I really love that too. So I guess that's 2 lock'ems for everyone. Joey, you got one, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds nuts to me too, but the Titans coming off that win against the Niners, but I feel like the Dolphins got something riding here with this defense, and I don't know. Ryan Tannehill has not looked that great this year when he doesn't have the running game that he had last year behind and years past behind Derrick Henry.
It is the Ryan Tannehill revenge game.
Oh, that is a good point. Nah, fuck that. Dolphins +3.5. We're riding. Not backing down now.
Yeah, I like it. Man. All right. Well, we've been sitting here long enough. I got to make my girlfriend some dinner before she comes out of her bedroom and starts yelling at me while we're live. So, again, thank you all for listening. Follow me on Twitter at Cody on Tap, and you can follow Joey on Twitter at the Riot326. And of course, follow us at On Tap Bets on Twitter and On Tap Sportsnet on social media, on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram as well. So yeah, again, my best Ron Luce impression. Shout out to you, Ron. We'll be back next week sometime. Good luck with everyone in their bets, and let's lock them.
Lock them, baby. Let's go.